Part 3 of The Matchless Orinda. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Elizabeth Klett. Poems by the most deservedly admired Mrs. Katherine Phillips, The Matchless Orinda. Part 3. Poems 21 to 30. 21. To Mr. Henry Vaughan, Silurist, on his Poems. Had I adored the multitude, and thence got an antipathy to wit and sense, and hugged that fate in hope the world would grant 'twas good affection to be ignorant, yet the least ray of thy bright fancy seen, I had converted or excuseless been. For each birth of thy muse to after times shall expiate for all this age's crimes. First shines thy amoret, twice crowned by thee, once by thy love, next by thy poetry, where thou the best of unions dost dispense, truth clothed in wit, and love in innocence. So that the muddiest lovers may learn there, no fountains can be sweet that are not clear. There Juvenal, revived by thee, declares how flat man's joys are, and how mean his cares, and generously upbraids the world that they should such a value for their ruin pay. But when thy sacred muse diverts her quill, the landskip to designs of Leon's hill, as nothing else was worthy her or thee, so we admire almost to idolatry. What savage breast would not be rapt to find such jewels in such cabinets enshrined? Thou, filled with joys too great to see or count, descend'st from thence like Moses from the mount, and with a candid yet unquestioned awe restor'st the golden age when verse was law. Instructing us, thou so secur'st thy fame, that nothing can disturb it but my name. Nay, I have hopes that standing so near thine 'twill lose its dross, and by degrees refine. Live till the disabused world consent, all truths of use or strength or ornament are with such harmony by thee displayed, as the whole world was first by number made. And from the charming rigour thy muse brings, learn there's no pleasure but in serious things. 22. A retired friendship to Ardelia. Come, my Ardelia, to this bower, where kindly mingling souls awhile, let's innocently spend an hour, and at all serious follies smile. Here is no quarrelling for crowns, nor fear of changes in our fate, no trembling at the great one's frowns, nor any slavery of state. Here's no disguise nor treachery, nor any deep concealed design. From blood and plots this place is free, and calm as are those looks of thine. Here let us sit and bless our stars, who did such happy quiet give, as that removed from noise of wars, in one another's hearts we live. Why should we entertain a fear? Love cares not how the world is turned. If crowds of dangers should appear, yet friendship can be unconcerned. We wear about us such a charm, no horror can be our offence, for mischief's self can do no harm to friendship or to innocence. Let's mark how soon Apollo's beams command the flocks to quit their meat, and not entreat the neighbouring streams to quench their thirst, but cool their heat. In such a scorching age as this, who would not ever seek a shade, deserve their happiness to miss, as having their own peace betrayed? But we, of one another's mind assured, the boisterous world disdain. With quiet souls and unconfined enjoy what princes wish in vain. 23. To Mrs. Mary Carne, when Philaster courted her. As some great conqueror who knows no bounds, but hunting honour in 1,000 wounds, pursues his rage, and thinks that triumph cheap, that's but attended with the common heap, till his more happy fortune doth afford some royal captive that deserved his sword, and only now is of his laurel proud, thinking his dangerous valour well bestowed, but then retreats, and spending hate no more, thinks mercy now what courage was before. As cowardice in fight, so equally he doth abhor a bloody victory. So, madam, though your beauty were allowed to be severe unto the yielding crowd, that were subdued ere you an object knew, worthy your conquest and your mercy too, yet now 'tis gained, your victories complete, only your clemency should be as great. None will dispute the power of your eyes, that understands Philaster is their prize. Hope not your glory can have new access, for all your future trophies will grow less, and with that homage be you satisfied from him that conquers all the world beside. Nor let your rigour now the triumph blot, and lose the honour which your beauty got. Be just and kind unto your peace and fame, in being so to him, for they're the same. And live and die at once, if you would be nobly transmitted to posterity. Take heed, lest in the story they peruse a murder which no language can excuse, but wisely spare the trouble of one frown. Give him his happiness, and know your own. Thus shall you be as honour's self esteemed, who have one sex obliged, your own redeemed. Thus the religion due unto your shrine shall be as universal, as divine, and that devotion shall this blessing gain, which law and reason do attempt in vain. The world shall join maintaining but one strife, who shall most thank you for Philaster's life. 24. To Mr. J. B., the noble Cratander, upon a composition of his which he was not willing to own publicly. As when some injured prince assumes disguise, and strives to make his carriage sympathize, yet hath a great becoming mien and air, which speaks him royal spite of all his care, so the issues of thy soul can ne'er be hid, and the sun's force may be as soon forbid as thine obscured. There is no shade so great through which it will not dart forth light and heat. Thus we discover thee by thy own day, against thy will snatching the cloud away. Now the peace shines, and though we will not say Parents can souls as taper lights convey, yet we must grant thy soul transmitted here in beams almost as lasting and as clear. And that's our highest praise, for but thy mind, thy works could never a resemblance find. That mind whose search can Nature's secret hand at one great stroke discover and command, which cleareth times and things before whose eyes nor men nor notions dare put on disguise. And were all authors now as much forgot as prosperous Ignorance herself would plot, had we the rich supplies of thy own breast, the knowing world would never miss the rest. Men did before from Ignorance take their fame, but Learning's self is honoured by thy name. Thou studiest not belief to introduce of novelties more fit for show than use, but think'st it nobler charity to uphold the credit and the beauty of the old, and with one hand canst easily support Learning and law, a temple and a court. And this secures me, for as we below valleys from hills, houses from churches know, but to their fight who stand extremely high, these forms will have one flat equality. So from a lower soul I well might fear a critic's censure when surveyed too near, but not from him who placed above the best, lives in a height which levels all the rest. 25. To the excellent Mrs. Anne Owen, upon her receiving the name of Lucasia, and adoption into our society, December 28th, 1651. We are complete, and fate hath now no greater blessing to bestow. Nay, the dull world must now confess we have all worth, all happiness. Annals of state are trifles to our fame, now 'tis made sacred by Lucasia's name. But as though through a burning glass the sun more vigorous doth pass, yet still with general freedom shines, for that contracts but not confines, so though by this her beams are fixed here, yet she diffuses glory everywhere. Her mind is so entirely bright, the splendour would but wound our sight, and must to some disguise submit, or we could never worship it. And we by this relation are allowed lustre enough to be Lucasia's cloud. Nations will own us now to be a temple of divinity, and pilgrims shall 10 ages hence approach our tombs with reverence. May then that time which did such bliss convey be kept by us perpetual holy day. 26. To the truly noble Mrs. Anne Owen, on my first approaches. Madam, as in a triumph conquerors admit their meanest captives to attend on it, who, though unworthy, have the power confessed and justified the yielding of the rest, so when the busy world, in hope to excuse their own surprise, your conquest do peruse, and find my name, they will be apt to say your charms were blinded, or else thrown away. There is no honour got in gaining me, who am a prize not worth your victory. But this will clear you, that 'tis general, the worst applaud what is admired by all. But I have plots in't, for the way to be secure of fame to all posterity, is to obtain the honour I pursue, to tell the world I was subdued by you. And since in you all wonders common are, your votaries may in your virtues share, while you by noble magic worth impart, she that can conquer can reclaim a heart. Of this creation I shall not despair, since for your own sake it concerns your care. For 'tis more honour than the world should know, you made a noble soul, than found it so. 27. Lucasia. Not to oblige Lucasia by my voice, to boast my fate or justify my choice, is this designed, but pity does engage my pen to rescue the declining age. For since 'tis grown in fashion to be bad, and to be vain or angry, proud or mad, while in their vices only men agree, is thought the only modern gallantry. How would some brave examples check the crimes, and both reproach and yet reform the times? Nor can morality itself reclaim the apostate world like my Lucasia's name. Lucasia, whose rich soul, had it been known, in that time the ancients called the Golden One, when innocence and greatness were the same, and men no battles knew but in a game, choosing what nature, not what art, prefers. Poets were judges, kings philosophers. Even then from her the wise would copies draw, and she to the infant world had given a law. That souls were made of number could not be an observation, but a prophecy. It meant Lucasia, whose harmonious state the spheres and muses only imitate. But as then music is best understood when every chord's examined and found good, so what in others judgment is and will, in her is the same even reason still. And as some colour various seems, but yet 'tis but our difference in considering it, so she now light and then does light dispense, but is one shining orb of excellence. And that so piercing when she judgment takes, she doth not search but intuition makes. And her discoveries more easy are than Caesar's conquest in his Pontic war. As bright and vigorous her beams are pure, and in their own rich candour so secure, that had she lived where legends were devised, Rome had been just, and she been canonized. Nay, innocence herself less clear must be, if innocence be anything but she. For virtue so congenial to her mind, that liquid things or friends are less combined. So that in her that sage his wish had seen, and virtue's self had personated been, now as distilled simples do agree, and in th' alembic lose variety, so virtue, though in pieces scattered 'twas, is by her mind made one rich useful mass. Nor doth discretion put religion down, nor hasty zeal usurp the judgment's crown. Wisdom and friendship have one single throne, and make another friendship of their own. Each several piece darts such fierce pleasing rays, poetic lovers would but wrong in praise. All hath proportion, all hath comeliness, and her humility alone excess. Her modesty doth wrong a worth so great, which calumny herself would noblier treat. While true to friendship and to nature's trust, to her own merits only she's unjust. But as divinity we best declare by sounds as broken as our notions are, so to acknowledge such vast eminence, imperfect wonder is our eloquence. No pen Lucasia's glories can relate, but they admire best who dare imitate. 28. Wiston Vault. And why this vault and tomb? Alike we must put off distinction and put on our dust. Nor can the stateliest fabric help to save from the corruptions of a common grave, nor for the resurrection more prepare than if the dust were scattered into air. What then? The ambition's just, say some, that we may thus perpetuate our memory. Ah, false vain task of art! Ah, poor weak man! Whose monument does more than's merit can, who by his friends' best care and love's abused, and in his very epitaph accused. For did they not suspect his name would fall, there would not need an epitaph at all. But after death, too, I would be alive, and shall, if my Lucasia do, survive. I quit these pomps of death, and am content, having her heart to be my monument. Though ne'er stone to me, 'twill stone for me prove, by the peculiar miracles of love. There I'll inscription have which no tomb gives, not "Here Orinda lies," but "Here she lives." 29. Friendship in Emblem, or the Seal. To my dearest Lucasia. The hearts thus intermixed speak A love that no bold shock can break. For joined and growing both in one, none can be disturbed alone. That means a mutual knowledge too, for what is't either heart can do, which by its panting sentinel it does not to the other tell? That friendship hearts so much refines, it nothing but itself designs. The hearts are free from lower ends, for each point to the other tends. They flame, 'tis true, and several ways, but still those flames do so much raise, that while to either they incline, they yet are noble and divine. From smoke or hurt those flames are free, from grossness or mortality. The heart, like Moses' bush presumed, warmed and enlightened, not consumed. The compasses that stand above express this great immortal love, for friends like them can prove this true, they are and yet they are not two. And in their posture is expressed friendship's exalted interest. Each follows where the other leans, and what each does, this other means. And as when one foot doth stand fast, and t'other circles seek to cast, the steady part does regulate, and make the wanderer's motion straight, so friends are only two in this, to reclaim each other when they miss. For whosoe'er will grossly fall, can never be a friend at all. And as that useful instrument for even lines was ever meant, so friendship from good angels springs, to teach the world heroic things. As these are found out in design to rule and measure every line, so friendship governs actions best, prescribing unto all the rest. And as in nature nothing's set, so just as lines in number met, so compass for these being made, do friendship's harmony persuade. And like to them, so friends may own extension, not division, their points like bodies separate, but heads like souls knows no such fate. And as each part so well is knit, that their embraces ever fit, so friends are such by destiny, and no third can the place supply. There needs no motto to the seal, but that we may the mind reveal to the dull eye, it was thought fit that friendship only should be writ. But as there are degrees of bliss, so there's no friendship meant by this, but such as will transmit to fame Lucasia and Orinda's name. 30. In memory of F.P., who died at Acton on the 24th of May, 1660, at 12½ of age. If I could ever write a lasting verse, it should be laid, dear saint, upon thy hearse. But sorrow is no muse, and does confess that it least can what it would most express. Yet that I may some bounds to grief allow, I'll try if I can weep in numbers now. Ah, beauteous blossom, too untimely dead! Whither, ah, whither is thy sweetness fled? Where are the charms that always did arise from the prevailing language of thy eyes? Where is thy beauteous and lovely mien, and all the wonders that in thee were seen? Alas, In vain on thee I rave, there is no pity in the stupid grave. But so the bankrupt sitting on the brim of those fierce billows which had ruined him, begs for his lost estate, and does complain to the inexorable floods in vain, as well we may inquire when roses die, to what retirement their sweet odours fly, whither their virtues and their blushes haste, when the short triumph of their life is past, or call their perishing beauties back with tears, as add one moment to thy finished years. No, thou art gone, and thy presaging mind so thriftily thy early hours designed, that hasty death was baffled in his pride, since nothing of thee but thy body died. Thy soul was up betimes, and so concerned to grasp all excellence that could be learned, that finding nothing fill her thirsting here, to the spring-head she went to quench it there, and so prepared that being freed from sin, she quickly might become a cherubin. Thou wert all soul, and through thy eyes it shined. Ashamed and angry to be so confined, it longed to be uncaged, and thither flown, where it might know as clearly as 'twas known. In these vast hopes we might thy change have found, but that heaven blinds whom it decrees to wound. For parts so soon at so sublime a pitch, a judgment so mature, fancy so rich, never appear unto thankful men, but as a vision to be hid again. So glorious scenes in masks spectators view, with the short pleasure of an hour or two. But that once past, the ornaments are gone, the lights extinguished, and the curtains drawn. Yet all these gifts were thy less noble part, not was thy head so worthy as thy heart, where the divine impression shined so clear, as snatched thee hence, and yet endeared thee here. For what in thee did most command our love, was both the cause and sign of thy remove. Such fools are we, so fatally we choose, that what we most would keep we soonest lose. The humble greatness of thy pious thought, sweetness unforced, and bashfulness untaught, the native candour of thine open breast, and all the beams wherein thy worth was dressed, thy wit so bright, so piercing and immense, adorned with wise and lovely innocence, might have foretold thou wert not so complete, but that our joy might be as short as great. So the poor swain beholds his ripened corn by some rough wind without a sickle torn. Never, ah, never let sad parents guess at one remove of future happiness, but reckon children 'mong those passing joys, which hour one gives and the next hour destroys. Alas, we were secure of our content, but find too late that it was only lent, to be a mirror wherein we may see how frail we are, how spotless we should be. But if to thy blessed soul my grief appears, forgive and pity these injurious tears. Impute them to affection's sad excess, which will not yield to nature's tenderness. Since 'twas through dearest ties and highest trust, continued from thy cradle to thy dust, and so rewarded and confirmed by thine, that woe is me, I thought thee too much mine. But I'll resign, and follow thee as fast as my unhappy minutes will make haste, till when the fresh remembrances of thee shall be my emblems of mortality, for such a loss as this, bright soul, is not ever to be repaired or forgot. End of Part 3.